Welcome to Wirral Footy Talk, and today we have a very special guest, our first referee on the show. We have Jack Blakemore. Welcome to the show, Jack.
Thank you, Jason.
How are you doing?
I'm fine, thanks. I've had my injection. I'm just waiting for another one in about 5 weeks' time, and I feel fine considering I'm 78 this year.
You're looking good though, Jack. You're looking good. And it's a special day today. It's your wedding anniversary. You got a red card off the missus?
I've got more than a red card, yes, and a right hook. Yes, my 25th wedding anniversary.
Well, congratulations to you both, mate.
Okay, thanks.
How has she managed to stay with the referee for 25 years?
Well, she used to play football herself, to be honest.
Yeah.
And her dad took her to Liverpool from when she was about 9. And he'd take a little homemade box for her to stand on.
Wow.
So she could watch the game from the cop.
So she's into football herself,
yeah.
Oh, brilliant. That does help, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So, Jack, to start the show, how did you get into refereeing?
I played for a team called the Borough Surveyors in the Wallasey Sunday League in 1963. And I missed 2 open goals one Sunday, and I was dropped for the following week. And in those days, there were no substitutes. Anyway, I stayed to watch the game, thinking I'd be watching the game, and they said, "Our referee hasn't turned up. Would you like to referee?" So I said, "Yes, okay." I jumped at the chance. I didn't sort of think, no, I can't. And I refereed in a Millington tracksuit for about a full season, which is a thick woolen thing. Yeah. The older people will remember a Millington tracksuit. And I really took to it, to be honest. And would you believe I sent one of our own players off, John Revens, in the first game against Transport. And he just gave this fella a right hook and the other fella gave him a left hook. So I had to send them off, and I went to an appeal under the Liverpool County FA because Cheshire didn't recognise Sunday football until the year afterwards.
Right, didn't you?
Yeah. So that was an epic start, really.
Yeah, that's a great start, yeah.
And I even took the lad who was sent off, John Revens, who lived near me, over to the hearing.
Yeah. And that got you first into refereeing?
Yes.
Did you really enjoy it? Did you think that this is for me, this?
I loved it from the first minute, actually. Yeah. I carried on playing on a Saturday for the old Wallaceians. And I also ran a team of my own in the Wirral Combination for 4 seasons. And then I realised that I wasn't going to get any promotion refereeing only on a Sunday.
Yeah.
So I stopped playing in 1972 and did Saturdays and Sundays.
So how old were you when you took that first game, Jack?
20.
So you were 20?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've been refereeing since you were 20 years of age?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's a long time, isn't it?
I don't know whether you know a referee named Georgie Lester.
I do know George,
Georgie Lester, bless him, lovely fella, good decorator. He made a note of every single game he did.
Did he?
And he did over 2,000 games. I'm sure I did more than that, to be honest, but I never kept a note of it. I should have done, to be honest. Yeah.
So how many games do you think you've actually ever done?
I'd say over, in 50 years, I probably did. I was refereed Saturday and Sunday. I'd probably done 2,500, something like that.
Wow, it's a lot, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what you'd have to do to become a referee, Jack?
Well, you have to go on a course. And I used to run the referees courses for 32 years.
Yeah.
And our sessions were 8 2.5-hour sessions, and we used to show video clips and all that sort of thing. And the course lasted 6 sessions, 2.5 hours each one. But now, all they do is they have a 2-hour online course. So you go to the Cheshire FA website, cheshirefa.com, enroll for this 2-hour course, and you answer all the questions online. Now, I don't think anybody can be taught how to referee, how to cope as a referee in 2 hours.
Yeah, and you could Google some of the questions, really, couldn't you? Couldn't you Google?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And it's followed up by an hour's outdoor practical session afterwards, apparently. But if anybody does want to enrol as a ref, when I first started, I got 10 shillings a game, 50p, would you believe? and I think it's probably about £30. If anybody does want to enrol, if they want to make a note of this number, I've written it down here somewhere for Rob Jones. Where the heck is it? Oh yes, Rob Johnson. 07759 951 160. And Rob, who I spoke to this afternoon, doesn't mind anybody ringing, and he'll have a few questions of them and refer him to the county FA.
That's brilliant, yeah. So anyone out there who wants to get into refereeing, please give them a call.
It's a wonderful, wonderful hobby. I know you might say all referees are a bit mad, but you make some lovely friends. I've known Jason for how long, Jace? 20 years more?
Yeah, more.
And most of my friends I've kept in touch with through football, to be honest. And it's a lovely hobby, and you get paid. It keeps you fit.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
It does keep you fit, Jack, because you've got to be up and down the pitch, haven't you? You know, and making decisions. I always ask referees and speak to yourself, like, you've got to make split-second decisions, haven't you?
Yeah.
Split-second. And it's not like you get a replay when you're doing a West Cheshire game or a Birkenhead Sunday, Wallasey Sunday. You're not getting a replay, are you?
No. I just used to say, I'm sorry, lads, did I get it wrong there? And I remember one lad saying, don't shout at the ref, he's apologised. But no referee, not even Michael Oliver, Mike Dean, Rob Jones gets everything right.
Yeah.
But unfortunately now they're ruled by VAR, and if they don't take note of what the VAR tells them, well, they get...
We'll get onto that
fourth official.
We'll get onto that in a minute. So you're just saying there, Jack, about refereeing. What's it like being a ref? What's it like being in the middle man? Because you're the main man, really, aren't you, in the game?
No, I've never thought that, to be honest. All games need a referee.
Yeah.
And if you have a parent come on and referee the game, it's not the same.
No, it's not.
No matter how honest they might try to be. You've just got to try and be honest, as fit as could be, make sensible decisions without being pedantic.
Yeah.
You know, all players appeal for all sorts of things, and they go rolling over these days. Years ago, Tommy Smith would tackle you and you'd just get up and run away. Now they roll over for next to nothing. They try to get their fellow professionals sent off, which I think is criminal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I was playing in the Birkenhead Sunday, if you've got a big tackle on you, you'd want to get up and show you were strong. Not
exactly,
all over the floor.
Yeah.
You know, it's a sign of a weakness where you think, and you'd be hurting a little bit or whatever, and you'd get up and you'd want to go again back at them. Like it wasn't like a roll round on the floor now.
Yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it, the way the world changes?
It's the ability to see what is a genuine foul, and you can usually see it with the intent in the player's eyes, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that anybody deliberately tries to break somebody's leg, but they just want to go in strong to get the message over, and I understand that.
Yeah, because football's a bit tribal as well, isn't it, Jack? So if I was playing for the Woodchurch and we were playing the Queens or the Dock or Rock Ferry Social, they're all from their estates or whatever, and you're from yours. You want to be strong, you don't want to be letting anyone down, so you're not going in half-hearted, are you?
No, and you get more likely to get injured if you go in half-hearted.
Yeah, that's the one,
Yeah. So I just used to understand the emotions, or I hope I did. And I'd know if somebody was taking me a bit too far.
Yeah. Would you have a word first, Jack?
Always.
Always have a word?
Always.
Does that happen much now?
I think it does, yeah. Whether it happens in the Premier League or not, I don't know, because you've got a million cameras on you all the time.
Yeah.
But a referee will be respected if he treats another human being with respect.
Yeah.
And players tend to respond better if you speak to them decently.
Yeah.
They know if you're a bit weak as a ref.
So if you were getting assessed and then you could book someone, but you had a word, would that go against you?
I don't think so, no. In the past, when I was getting assessed in the early days, one or two of them were gotcha assessors. In other words, they'd find faults without mentioning the good parts in your refereeing performance. And a referee can pack the game in because of that. I've known a few referees who've had a bad assessment and think, well, look at that, I'm not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
But we try to get rid of those assessors, if you know what I mean. Yeah.
So We've talked about what it's like to be a ref, and you're a referees liaison officer for the Champions League, aren't you, Jack?
I did do that.
I
haven't done it for a long time, and I was so lucky to be able to look after Pierluigi Collina, the ball-headed Italian fella, for 3 days, and Helmut Krug.
So when you say look after, what are you doing?
I had to. We stayed at the Marriott Hotel either by Speke Airport or in Liverpool, but generally we stayed at the Suites Hotel in Knowsley Village.
Yeah.
And I'd drive my car there, leave it there for 3 days, and we'd get ferried around to the game by the fella who takes the Premier League refs to games now.
Brilliant.
And I'd stay in the hotel. The night before the game, I'd have to take them out for a meal. And I took Collina to an Italian restaurant in Liverpool. And all the Italian waiters, I booked, I just said it's for 5, 6 people.
Yeah.
And I didn't say who it was. And when he walked in, they stopped serving. I remember somebody saying, "Excuse me, we've ordered some wine here." But he was a lovely, lovely fella, modest, humble, spoke perfect English.
And he was pretty big at the time, wasn't he?
He was.
The biggest in the world at one time, yeah.
This was against Dynamo Kiev. And he disallowed a Liverpool goal for an alleged foul on the goalkeeper. I didn't think it was, but there we go. And the players just accepted what he said. Yeah. But he was the only referee who requested that he goes before the game, just after arriving, for a training session. And I took him to the new academy in Huyton.
Yeah.
Or it was new then.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all the little kids, the under 8s, the under 9s, I don't know what age they start at. What is it?
6.
6, is it?
6 now, yeah.
Gosh. Well, they all recognised him, and they all went and found a pen and a piece of paper, and he spent 45 minutes signing autographs.
Yeah.
And then went out and did his warm down, or whatever you call it, yeah. Brilliant. A warm up, yeah. The referee who drank the most was Anders Frisk, a Swedish fella. A night before the game, we went for a meal, again another Italian meal. And I said, "What are you having to drink?" He said, "The red stuff." So I said, "What's that?" "Ribena." He said, "No, the red stuff." So we had a litre bottle, a jug really, of red wine. And I said, "Is that okay?" I said, "There's a game tomorrow, you know, Anders." He said, "Yes, I know." Anyway, the day of the match, I had to arrange in the hotel for a meal. And this particular game, Joseph Marco, who was the head of the referees for UEFA, he was the referee observer, and he sat down at the table. And I said, "What are you drinking, Anders?" He said, "Same as last night." So I said, "The red stuff?" He said, "Yes." So I had to order 2 bottles of red wine. And he was sitting opposite Joseph Marco, and he filled a glass full of red wine, and Joseph said, "You drinking red wine on the day of the match?" He said, "Yes, this is my preparation." Anyway, he had a fantastic game. Yeah. So it just shows you everybody prepares differently. Yeah. Anyway, I won't tell you what he drank after the game. But we lost about 1.5 bottles of brandy. So it was just lovely looking after them. Obviously, I get the best seat in the stand. After the game, we'd go for a meal, and the next day I had to go with them in the people carrier to Manchester Airport.
Would you talk about the game and stuff to them, Jack, and would you bounce off them, or did they just want to forget about it then once they'd had it?
I talked a bit about it.
Yeah.
You know, I would never say I didn't agree with, whatever decision. Never say that, because they were much higher than I was. But I used to invite the referee observer and the match delegate for a meal at night. And a couple of them who'd been delegates for a while, he said, "We've never been invited after a game to have a meal with the match officials."
Was there a reason?
Well, I said I thought that would be pretty obvious, to be honest. Yeah. So we're all in it for the same reason, aren't we?
You're all in it together. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. So, and I made a friends with the lad who was on Graham Poll's game when he showed 3 yellow cards.
Oh, I think I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, at Stuttgart in the European Championships,
yeah.
Jens Larsen. And I kept in touch with him for a few years, yeah.
Brilliant.
So
with the referees, Jack, do you all keep in touch, like, especially on the Wirral and stuff like that? Do you have, like we have CPD days where we come in and we have coaches who will go down on a conference for my badge with the Welsh FA, and we'll do hours that way, and the new trends in the game will go through and stuff like that. Do you have the referees and do? We
have a referees meeting every second Thursday in the month, but obviously for the last 12 months we haven't been able to have one. We started a Zoom meeting, but it wasn't terribly successful, to be honest. It's not the same as seeing some action clips and that sort of thing. And I used to use Camelhead Social Club. Toddy Wood never used to charge us anything. We've been to Tranmere Rovers in one of the lounges there. And towards the end, they went to the Village Hotel. And the meeting had lasted about 2 hours. Anything longer than that, they'd been at work all day, so that's
and what would just things you discuss at these meetings? Is it like...
Well, we'd always say anybody had any difficulty in your game at the weekend, and we'd listen carefully to them. And somebody might say, yes, I was watching that game, because sometimes we ask the parents to come along with the youngsters.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
that's brilliant.
Yes, I was watching that game, and the ref, I thought, did correctly, gave a decision correctly. And we used to show all different clips from the Premier League or the Championship. And I tried to get clips from non-league, because Altringham's video was brilliant for all their games. And they relate more to the grassroots stuff. I'm not saying Altringham's grassroots, more to that than the Premier League sort of thing.
Is there a few more incidents that happen in them games?
Yeah.
Real life, really, situations.
Absolutely, yeah. And we saw one tackle in an Altrincham game against Hednesford where this fella launched himself and just missed the throat of the Altrincham number 11. And he didn't wait, he just walked off.
Did he?
Yeah.
Just walked off?
He just walked off, yeah. Why he did it or not, I don't really know. I don't think he was meaning to get the throat of the player. I don't think so, but it looked so bad. That it was only about 3 or 4 seasons ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you find if you go with lower leagues, Jack, that you have big crowds some places, does that ever influence the referee decision when you're in a big...
It might do, I would guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all human beings, really,
that's
aren't
what
we?
I mean, it must, like I've seen Anfield when I've been in Anfield, and you see the big roar, and the refs might change his mind going over because of the way the crowd react, the managers react,
I think at the highest level, they're trained well enough to not be influenced by that. Yeah. Otherwise, Mike Riley and the other managers, Mike Jones, they'd realise that, and they'd have a word with them, sort of thing.
Yeah.
You can't show any bias to any team, really.
Yeah.
I know when I joined the Wirral Sunday League in 1977, I didn't know anything about the teams, and Davy Lee gave me the Bidston against the Sea Dog.
Derby.
For my first evening game in August. And there must have been, you mentioned about crowds, there must have been 300 people watching there, and 290 of them had a can of beer in there. And it was a fantastic game. They just respected each other, if you know what I mean. And some of them probably played on a Saturday in the same team. And it was fantastic. I loved it to bits. I didn't feel the least bit afraid or anything like that. Yeah,
that's brilliant.
They even had some fireworks set off. I can't remember the score, to be honest, Jason, but I just loved it. And referees in this area should count themselves lucky that they've got a good standard of football to officiate in.
I made up you said that, Jack, because that's what this show's about, putting the people out there on the Wirral and how talented a place it is, through football, referees, physios. We're quite lucky, aren't we, in the standards that we play at?
Yeah. Yeah. When I got on the Northern Premier League referees list in 1982, a fellow named Ken Dagnall interviewed me, plus a couple of others, and they said, why do you think we should take you as a referee onto our league? And I said, well, with suitable modesty, I feel as though I'm good enough. And I reckon that I have learned my trade through refereeing in local Sunday league, where it's pretty tough. And if you can referee in the Birkenhead Sunday League, you can referee anywhere. No disrespect to the Birkenhead Sunday League, but he said, oh, you could see him nodding, sort of thing. Yeah. And I remember doing a game in the West Cheshire League. Poulton Vicks had 3 lads, 4, 5 and 6, who later in that season all signed for Southport. And they played later in that season in the Northern Premier League. So good quality players in the West Cheshire League.
So just on that one, Jack, how would you describe Jack Blakemore, the ref?
I think one of the best visions you can have of a referee is to be able to see him smiling and enjoying what he's doing. Yeah. Because I'm sure players notice a referee who never smiles. You can tell the personality of a ref. And to have a little bit of banter with a player, it's not always easy to pick the right player to have a bit of a laugh and a joke with. But if you can show a bit of humility, a bit of humour, don't be afraid to say, I'm sorry lads, did I get that wrong? You know, as long as it's not 20 times in a game, you're apologising, sort of thing. And as I said before, I've even had a lad said, don't shout at the ref, he's apologise, you know. But you can get a clue from the players. I'm sure you know this, Jason. There've been times when I'm not sure whether it's a goal kick or a corner, so I've just waited a few seconds and you see all the forwards run back towards their own goal, so you know it's a goal kick. Yeah. So the skill is not making a decision too quickly. Yeah.
That's brilliant, that, Jack. So, do you think there's a shortage of officials, Jack, on the Wirral?
I believe there is, actually. I haven't been involved in the refs courses now for 8 years. Yeah. And I used to get lots of emails saying, can you find us a ref, please? And I used to say, well, I'll give a few phone calls to the people who've recently been on the course. And it got to every week they were getting in touch with me. So I said, well, I'll send you the list of all the refs that have been registered off the last 2 or 3 courses. You ring them up yourselves. Yeah. And most of the time they get a referee, but there is a shortage even now, I think.
Why do you think that is though, Jack? Is it just the interest of kids? Do you all want to be players or...?
Possibly so. They've found other interests, I would guess. Yeah. I'm not criticising the youth of today, but some of them probably like to still stay in bed till 2:30 in the afternoon on Sunday. Sort of thing. My abiding memory in my last season in the Wirral Sunday League was at Levers, a fella on the phone 10 to 11. Well, I'm not coming out to get you out of bed. You know, get yourself here. We've only got 10 men. Yeah. And in fact, that game was played with only 10 men on each side. Wow. And I was supposed to report the fact that each team only played with 10 men. But I didn't, because these clubs don't have any money and they don't have to pay a fine. Yeah. So luckily I didn't get found out for not reporting.
No, but it's good that you're on the level there. Like you said, clubs don't have that much money, mate, do they? So, you know, you've saved them a bit of money and still got the game. There's no problem with that, is there? You know what I mean?
I don't think so, no. I think it's a stupid rule. Yeah. You know, they're upset enough only having 10 men, sort of thing. But I used to try and always keep my cards in my pocket. And I always used to think that you gain more respect and a better attitude out of a player if you show a bit of encouraging words from the mouth rather than cards out of your pocket, sort of thing. Anybody can show a card, can't they? And you can usually have a rough idea of whether a player will accept a card and behave after that. Sometimes you know players...
I've got mine ready for you here, Jack. For when we come on to a few questions later. Got one ready for you.
Yeah, so, you know, if you can keep your cards in your pocket, fine. But there are times when all players know that somebody should be sent off or shown a yellow card. Otherwise, you'd lose all respect.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, just when we're talking about cards and stuff like that, Jack, there's a lot that goes into refereeing, isn't it? So the tools of the trade are the red and yellow cards. You've got to have your book, haven't you, to put people in it?
Yeah.
So what you actually write in that little book when you put something in it? Do you
I
use name?
I use, yes. Can I have your full name, please?
Yeah.
And I remember one lad saying, Ken Wright. And I thought that was his surname. So I said, what's your full name, please? He said, Ken Wright. So I said, well, what's your first name? He said, Kenneth Wright. And I thought his surname was Ken Wright. So I said, oh, I do apologise. I do apologise. But
you have to put the minutes as well, Jack?
I put the minute and a rough note of what it was.
What it was.
Because I remember having one game, Accrington Stanley against Macclesfield, and I ended up with 9 cautions and 1 sending off. And my notebook wasn't big enough to write everything. and the 9th player that I cautioned, I just found a little tiny bit and I had to turn the page over. And when I sent the report in, I said, Fred Bloggs should have realised by now that with 8 players previously being cautioned, he wouldn't have stepped out of line.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember what the hell I cautioned him for. And there was no appeal for a yellow card. It was accepting. So many referees, as you see in the Premier League, they get the card out. They just write on the card the number of the player. But I've had examples where the team sheet has put number 6 down as Fred Bloggs and it's not him at all.
Yeah.
You know. I even had one game where I got my notebook out to a lad playing at Ness Park in the Wirral Sunday League. And I was going over, he knew he was going to be booked and he said to his manager, who am I? So he was obviously a ringer.
Yeah.
And I said, son, I'm not stupid. I said, what name do you want to give me? So, and I didn't say that it was probably not his right name.
Yeah.
You know, so you've got to laugh at those sort of things.
Yeah.
It's Merseyside humour, isn't it?
Yeah, it's part of the game, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
So we're talking about the red and the yellow cards, your book, you've got your whistle as well, Jack.
Yeah.
Yeah, so have you ever dropped it or you've been looking for it, anything like that?
I remember doing a game in the Central League, Nottingham Forest and, who was it? Leicester City and Derby County at Filbert Street. And before the game, the pitch was flooded and I thought, well, we're going home here. Anyway, I had a word with the groundsman and he said, no, it'll have gone in half an hour. And sure enough, it had. Yeah. But one part was dry and the other part was wet. And I went sliding, I fell over. And my whistle went right through the mud. Oh. And it filled up. And next time, I never noticed, next time I came to blow it, it didn't work. So all refs should have a spare whistle in their pocket.
Is that what, do you always carry a spare one?
Always carry a spare
whistle. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. I remember even forgetting to take one out at Workington. Got to the centre and I thought, bloody hell, where's my whistle? And I was confident enough to run off. And a fella said, where are you going, ref, for a pee? So I said, well, indirectly, yes. And I came out showing me whistle on a string. Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant, Jack. So you've also got your wristwatch as well, haven't you, Jack? So there's a lot going on.
2 wristwatches.
You have 2?
2, yeah. In case, one's usually as a stopwatch. And many a time I've stopped it, forgotten to start it again. So we have another watch which ticks on and you guess the amount of stoppage time. But going back to the whistle, the best referees are the ones who don't blow the whistle too often. Yeah. You must have played in games and you said, this bloody referee loves the sound of his own whistle. Yeah. Trivial fouls, you just forget about them. But you can speak with your whistle. If it's a real tough challenge, you can blow your whistle loud and long and hard. Yeah. And that tells everybody that you've seen what's happened.
That's a good tip, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. But the young lads who start, they're too scared to blow the whistle. They go, and they can't hear it. You know, I've seen a lad give a penalty and he goes, for a penalty you need to blow long and loud for that sort of thing.
A big incident, the penalty, isn't it?
As long as you've got the decision right, yeah.
So what about hand signals as well, Jack? Does that come into it?
Yeah, well, if you want to play an advantage, you do that. Yeah. But God never made us to run forward with both hands out, did he? So what they do now, and we copied from the Italians, just put your hand out.
Just put your hand out.
Carry on,
Makes more sense, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I remember doing a game at Levers 6, my favourite pitch, Levers 6. You know where that is? So you go out the dressing room, top left.
Yeah, where the Royal play.
That's right, yeah. And I remember giving an indirect free kick for a high foot outside the area, and the ref should put his arm up and leave it there. And this lad ran up, belted it into the top corner, ran back with his arm up thinking he'd scored, and I stayed there. It was an indirect free kick.
Yeah.
And you can't score direct from an indirect free kick.
Yeah.
Now, if I'd have taken my arm down,
he could have classed that as direct.
He wouldn't have, he would have thought it was direct sort of thing. So hand signals are important. And refs who do that are letting everybody know that they've seen it, and no good arguing with me. I've seen it sort of thing,
Oh, brilliant. So the next thing I've got here, Jack, is what's it like having no linesman and linesman? Because on a Saturday, the West Cheshire, I presume they have linesmen nearly in the top, especially in Division 1 and stuff like that. But when you're doing a Sunday, you don't have linesmen, do you?
You have what they call club linesmen. And most of them are honest, to be honest, Jason.
No, but I'm thinking more of the offside. How difficult is that?
Well, you've just got to be up and down. If you say that's the field, that's the field of play.
Yeah.
Tell you what, people might be reading what I've put. If that's the field of play, a referee tends to use what they call the diagonal. There's a goal. He tends to run up there when he's got a linesman there. But when he's on his own, you have to run all over the place, to be honest, to get the best angle of view.
Yeah.
And the most contentious decisions are offsides. So if a ref can run wide often, and he's in a wide position, and somebody appeals for an offside and you're dead in line, there's nothing more rewarding than blowing your whistle for offside.
Yeah.
Well, oh, sorry, ref. Yeah. And you're right in line. So you've got to run everywhere, to be honest.
That must be hard though, difficult, because we've just gone through the tools of the trade. You've got the watches, you've got the book, you're making decisions on the pitch. And then when you haven't got linesmen, you've got to do the offside as well.
Yeah.
And that must be so difficult, that.
It's knowing where to stand and anticipating the play.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen an opponent with the ball and you've guessed correctly where he's going to play it.
Yeah.
So you run in to intercept it.
Yeah.
And a referee's skill is guessing where the ball's going to be kicked to, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And being in position.
Just with that though, Jack, if you play in a higher level, does the ball move quicker, so it's harder?
Yeah. Rob Jones tells me that he is fitter now than he's ever been in his life, because he knew in the Premier League you have to be fit.
Yeah.
Especially if you get the goalie who boots the ball down the other end in the last few minutes when they're losing, sort of thing. And he said that's the highest quality you can have at the moment as a top class referee, fitness. He was the only Premier League referee who was postal tested at the beginning of October, I think it was, for the virus. Sorry, he was the only one who proved positive in a postal test. So he should have done Chelsea against Southampton, his first one that season. And he had to come off it because he was isolating. He's got a gym in his garage, and he said he had no symptoms. He trained for hours every day, never felt ill, no nothing. And he reckons the positive test wasn't accurate, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
So he said, I got fitter during that 2 weeks probably.
So it helped him?
So it helped him, yeah.
He must be able to be fit in the Premier League. Must be like 100 mile an hour, the ball. Because you're talking top athletes. I've seen academy games, and the academy lads are fit, but the Premier League players, they must be on another level, mustn't they?
Yeah.
You know?
So, some teams are fitter than others, even at the Premier League level. Yeah. They say Leeds United are fitter than Sheffield United are fitter than anybody else. And who was it I read about where the last quarter of an hour, I can't remember who it was, we were fitter than they were. But the Premier League referees have a watch that registers all their fitness pursuits, and every Thursday afternoon, I don't know what time they have to do it, but they have to send the information off their watch to the Premier League.
Wow.
So the Premier League can see what fitness exercises.
And they have stats, yeah.
Yeah, and they have stats. And you can't pin your watch to your dog or anything like that, because they can tell, sort of thing, you know.
So what's the best game you've ever been involved in, Jack, that you've actually reffed? Can you pick one?
I've loved them all, to be honest. And to me, no one game is more important than another, because you're helping 22 players enjoy a game, and some of them, it's the highlight of their week, isn't it? But probably the highest level game was I ran the line in the Champions, well, it was called the European Cup then, in September 1987. Zenit, it was called Zenit Leningrad in those days. Zenit St. Petersburg against Bruges. 2-0 for Zenit St. Petersburg.
Where's Petersburg, is that?
Russia.
I think we've had a little conversation over this, because I remember you were on the line at New Brighton and it was absolutely lashing down, blowing a hurley.
It was, yeah.
And the dugout blew away, and it was just me and you stood there like that. Yeah. And I went, have you ever seen weather like this, Jack? And you said, only once in Russia.
Yeah. It was bitterly cold. It was September the 15th, I think the game was. Perhaps I shouldn't say this, but one miserable place, Russia.
Yeah.
Everybody looked miserable, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And the hotel was crap. Hotel Europa Skya it was. The shower that we all used, the bath that the three of us used, obviously not at the same time, had a hole in the ceiling, and cockroaches were falling out of the ceiling. So we mentioned this to the Bruges team after the game, and they said, oh, come to our hotel after the match rather than go back to your hotel. And we went with them, yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
So all European trips aren't as brilliant as they sound, if you know what I mean. It's probably different now.
Yeah.
This was 34 years ago.
Did you enjoy that experience though?
Oh, wonderful, yeah. You can't knock it, can you, when you get chosen for that?
How did you find with different languages then? Because I've worked for Liverpool International and I go away, and if you can't, most kids do speak a little bit of English, but we have a translator, but on the pitch you wouldn't have one, would you?
No, I suppose football is an international language, isn't it? Actually, Bruges had 3 players who used to play for Norwich City.
Right.
And Joe Waddle, who was the ref, knew them, so he could speak to them. But most Belgians spoke English anyway. But with the Russians, you just do it with
Yeah, no more.
No more. No more.
So who's the best ref you've ever seen, Jack? Is there someone who stood out who you thought, wow, he's different level?
A fellow named George Courtney, I don't know whether you remember him, but from the northeast. This would be in the, what would it be, late 70s, 80s. He went to the World Cup. He was the best. Nice fella as well, very fit. Keith Hackett was a good ref, although he's spoilt himself now criticising all the refs these days. And in recent times, Rob Jones, I've been to watch Rob Jones about 6 or 7 times. I went last New Year's Day, he refereed West Brom against Leeds. And before the game, I said, are you nervous, Rob? He said, why should I be nervous? He said, I've trained hard, I know I'm fit, I've eaten sensibly, I know I'm not overweight, so what is for me to worry about? And he just sailed through it, he floated through it, And it was obvious he was going to go up to the Premier League.
It's good that Rob's come off the Wirral and he's done that, because Rob used to do all, when I was manager of Asheville, he used to get the big games, the semi-finals, the finals.
Yeah.
And you never had much problem with him. He got 9 times out of 10, he got it right. You know, he was a good ref.
He disarms you with his smile, to be honest.
He is very placid, isn't he?
He is, yeah. And he's. I'm not saying he's had a tough upbringing, but his dad's a tough fella.
Yeah.
Yeah. He used to be a bailiff, his dad. I spoke at length with his dad at Blackburn one game. And he used to be a bailiff. He used to be, what was it? Where they look after big estates. And I could tell from what he was telling me, he's passed his toughness on to Rob.
Yeah.
And when Rob had that trouble at Burnley and Leeds, do you remember? He blew too early when Burnley scored, yeah. He said he had enough mental toughness for that not to let him be affected the next game. And I think all the referees at that level, the championship level as well, are toughened to, not take that into the next game or into the next minute, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose if you did dwell on it, it'd make your game worse, wouldn't it? Because you're still thinking about that. You've got to get something else wrong going on, because there's not much happening in the game, isn't it?
Yeah. And he said 2 of the Burnley players, who I won't mention, but they were on at him all the time for the rest of the game. Yeah. And he ended up booking both of them.
You can't win with the ref.
Brownhill and Ashley Barnes, I think it was. Is it Ashley Barnes who plays for Burnley, or does he play for Leicester?
Barnes plays for... yeah, he plays for Burnley, doesn't he?
He does. There's a Barnes plays for Leicester who's fantastic. Sorry, I hope this isn't going to the Burnley club website.
I'm going to send it to Woney.
Oh, yeah, his dad's just died, hasn't he?
Oh, has he?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's 90 though.
He's assistant manager there now, isn't he?
Yeah.
Burnley.
Yeah. I used to referee Ian and Alan, and we used to call Alan Wone the Moan. He was always moaning. Even his daddy used to go and watch. He said, "Alan, will you shut up?" But you take that in your stride as well.
We all like to moan because we all love the game, Jack. I think when referees have got the hardest is when I was manager of Asheville, you're carrying the can for the club.
Of course, yeah.
You want to make your family proud, you want to make the players proud, you put time and effort and working on things in a week. Yeah. So if the decision goes, then that passion comes out.
Absolutely.
And you ask for it. And like you said before, most of the good referees, they accept that because they know that it's part and parcel of the game.
Of course, yeah. We always say when we do the referees course, Joe Copeland used to help me wonderfully well, and Dave Pugh and Stevie Brand. Do you remember Stevie Brand?
I remember Stevie, yeah.
Stevie still behaves like a 15-year-old, Steve. We always used to say, you may not take to it, but if you do, you'll absolutely love it. You need to gain a thick skin and a deaf ear to be a referee.
Have you got both?
Well, I've certainly got a deaf ear here. I don't know what the hell's wrong with it. I'm thinking of suing the FA for bringing out those high-pitched whistles.
Yeah.
Perhaps I shouldn't have blown it so much then.
Yeah, but they are the high pitch.
It must affect your hearing, yeah.
It must do. So just go into the rules, Jack.
The laws.
The laws, yeah. Let's go for the offside rule first. What do we think about the offside rule? Because I've got my own interpretation of this.
How long have we got?
Well, we can't spend all night, but we can just touch on it. First thing for me is, Jack, I coach kids, right? Now, I'm coaching kids to be onside, to curve the run.
Yeah.
But if they make it high in the game, and the fingertip or the finger or the toe is offside, and he's worked hard to stay onside, how can that be fair?
Well, if your fingertip's offside, you can't be offside because you can't score a goal with your fingertip. But I know what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
It was originally brought in, the offside law, to stop goal hanging. Because years ago, they boot the ball up to a fellow who'd just stand in the opposing penalty area, and it got really boring, of course. Yeah. But now it's clinical. They've just sanitised the game by saying VAR will decide whether somebody's offside. And if you're offside by a toenail or your nose, you didn't deliberately try to gain advantage by being that far ahead of the the defender. So it's just gone overboard.
So what was the rule before that, Jack? So we're clear on it.
Well,
it used to be your shoulders, was it?
Do you know, I've lost touch with this shoulder thing. Yeah. In the good old days, before about 3 years ago, everybody knew what a handball was. That sort of thing, or that sort of thing, or even that sort of thing, because you widen your options when you're a defender doing that.
Yeah.
Hope it'll hit your hand and the referee will think, well, he didn't mean to do it. But it's got too finite now with the handball. They even say that if it hits your arm, even if you don't know about it, and it goes in the goal, you can't have a goal, which is ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah.
But they're going to change all that very soon. Yeah.
So I look at the Joe Gomez one at City early on this season, and Joe Gomez was pulling away. Yeah. And hits his arm, and they give a penalty. But now you're seeing things now where it's hitting people's arms. Yeah. And they say they changed that rule now, that if he didn't mean it, then he can call it. It's a bit bizarre, isn't it? I think. Well,
everybody knows what a handball is.
Yeah.
You know, I remember refereeing a game at Ness Park again, and there was a shot, and a fella went like that because it was going to hit him in the face. And I gave a penalty. And they said, are you going to send him off, ref? Why aren't you sending him off? I said, well, if it hadn't hit his hands, it would have hit him in the face, and it wouldn't have gone in the goal. Never heard that explanation before. So it's gone clinical, as I said. So hopefully they'll change it.
So what about the offside rule, where they don't give offside straight away and they let play continue, because you're endangering players, Jack?
Absolutely. Sooner or later, a club is going to sue the International Football Association Board, who make the laws, for one of their players getting seriously injured, because they're an asset, aren't they? These players, and I think if the referee, the assistant, had put his flag up, poor old Virgil wouldn't have been on the end of a tackle from the Everton goalie. But I watched Celtic and Rangers the other day, and the ball was played forward to a fellow who was obviously offside, but the liner put his flag up right away. He didn't wait until that fella chased to the goal, towards the goal, and I thought that was brilliant.
I think that's how it should be, isn't it?
Yeah, because we always used to say on the refs course, if you're an assistant there and you can see somebody's offside, if he is likely to be interfering, stick your flag up, because if you don't, there'll be a collision and you'll be the cause of it, really, by not putting your flag up. But it's basic common sense, to be honest.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. So we've had the late flag, we've had the handball, we've had the offside. What about the VAR? Are you a fan, though?
No. All refs make mistakes. Obvious mistakes can be brought before the VAR, and everybody will say, yeah, it was a mistake, so we'll reverse the decision. But it's got too finite now. Yeah. As we said before, for the offside, nobody is really offside if they're that far ahead of the defender. It does have its advantages if a sensible interpretation is made. But what was the game? Jose was complaining it shouldn't have been a penalty for Arsenal. Do you remember the Arsenal fella went to kick it and he sliced it?
Yeah.
It went wide.
Yeah.
And he was collided into, but the ball had gone.
Yeah.
And the ref gave a penalty and VAR backed him up. Now, that was never a penalty. VAR should be able to say, no, you've got it wrong, ref.
Yeah.
Simple as that. But if the ref goes to the pitch side monitor and has a look, and he's been encouraged by VAR to go with a certain decision, if he doesn't go with that decision, he'll find himself fourth official for the next umpteen weeks.
Yeah, sure.
Sadly so.
That's the one, isn't it?
You've got to be a strong referee to say, don't agree with that, I'm sticking with my original decision.
Yeah. So for me as a fan, and you go to the game, and then you don't know whether to celebrate a goal.
Exactly,
and it's killed it a little bit.
Yeah.
But it does go for you when a decision goes for you, then you celebrate like you scored the goal.
Yeah.
But it is a bit of a strange one, and especially in the offside one.
Yeah.
You're waiting and waiting because they always every goal now. They make sure it goes to
they
VAR
do,
to check.
The players look across to the assistant, so he's got his flag up.
It gets checked, yeah.
Another stupid one, in my view, is the goalkeeper. If he moves a fraction off his line before the penalty is taken, and he saves it, it's a retake. Goalkeeper's natural instinct is to try to rush forward to narrow the angle a little bit. Yeah. Obviously, if he runs forward 2 foot off his line, well, it's a bit different. But when they come 6 inches off his line...
Like Dudek at Istanbul.
Oh, yeah. But the opponents realise they've missed a penalty. How the hell is the goalie going to save it if he doesn't sort of move?
I get that, Jack. So, Jack, any regrets when you refereeing over this course of time?
Not really. I've loved it so much for so long. I've made some really good friends. And the fact that you've invited me here, and I've not seen you for several years, I'm really chuffed about that. I've made lots of friends in football. No regrets, really.
No, that's brilliant.
I think if I'd have realised that I could have possibly gone a bit higher, I got to the referee in the National League for 4 seasons, I would have got myself fitter. Yeah. Not that I went boozing every night and anything like that.
But to have that edge, you just get it fitter. Yeah.
But in the mid-80s, you didn't think you had to be fantastically super fit. But you should have been, really.
I think you've been a great ambassador for referees. You've got to say this, Jack. I think you've been a great ambassador, and I know you'll always help people. Yeah. And you helped me in my management how to speak to referees because I was getting in trouble in the early days. Yeah. And you did calm me down and tell me how to speak to referees. And, they're only human and stuff like that. Yeah. Just going off football, there's something I see in a picture. How did you get to run with the Olympic Flame?
Oh, right. That was in June 2012. Yeah. I worked for the local authority for 37 years as a personnel officer, and each local authority was invited to nominate somebody to run with the torch. Yeah. And the chief executive at the time of the council, which was 12 years after I'd retired, nominated me. And he told me he was the only one who he thought could run with the torch. So he nominated me, and I got the invite to run in Southport, in Scarisbrick Road, and it was fantastic. And I managed to raise £3,500 going round with the torch to different schools, and charging £1 to have a photograph taken with the torch. Brilliant. The person having the photograph with the torch, not me. And I gave it to Clare House and St John's Hospice.
That's fantastic.
And Stick and Step. So that was one benefit out of it. Yeah, I was chuffed, really.
Oh, that's brilliant, yeah.
And I bought the torch as well, £215. Still got it.
Have you?
Yeah. That's they took, the bit that lights up the canister.
Yeah.
They took that out in case I set fire to myself or something like that.
So, Jack, if anyone's interested in being a ref, don't hesitate to contact the show because, like we said before, there's a shortage and you never know. There might be someone sitting there thinking, I might have a go at that. What would you say to them? Definitely. It's a wonderful hobby, and you will thank yourself after 20 years of refereeing that you've got to a high level for having started in the first place. Brilliant. So if anyone's out there, Jack, we've given them that number, and we'll try and get that number up on the show as well. And if anyone wants to get in touch with the show, so if anyone is thinking about it, we'll definitely get it over. Well, in case their battery's gone, I'll give you the number again. 07759 951 160, and it's Rob Johnson, who's the referee secretary for the Wirral FA. Or you can go onto the CheshireFA.com website, refereeing, and they'll give you information as to when the next course is. That's fantastic. And you'll even see a piece about
Jack Blakemore on the CheshireFA.com in the December newsletter. Did I send you that?
Yeah, you said.
Oh, did you?
I had a good read of it today. That's where I seen the Olympic flag.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
What's happening in the future for you, Jack?
I'm a season ticket holder at Tranmere Rovers, nil, would you believe. Since I stopped refereeing because of pains in my knee in 2013, I've had a season ticket at Tranmere. But I've only been to one game this season when they allowed 2,000 spectators in. And I've missed that involvement, really. I go to watch the referees, but I'm also... I observe some of the refs who are going higher in the Cheshire League on behalf of the Cheshire FA. Yeah. Not in an official capacity where I send a mark in to the authorities. I just watch them from on the sideline and go in afterwards and say you might have been better thinking of doing this, you know.
Is it like a mentor sort of thing?
Yes, a mentor. And I say, here's my phone number if you want to speak about things in the future. And I try to start off with encouraging words and then just say, well, you might have been better if you'd have done this, but I was miles away, you know, etc. And if you encourage them, they'll keep refereeing, I think.
Brilliant,
we don't want any gotcha assessors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're still learning, everyone's still learning, aren't they?
Always. Well, in your coaching role, you're learning new techniques all the time.
Yeah, all the time.
And I'm sure people go to, if they allow them, into Man City or whatever teams are, even to foreign teams to see how they train. Yeah.
That's it, Jack. Well, Jack, thanks very much for coming on the show.
Okay, Jason.
You've been absolutely fantastic, and I know that any referees out there who would enjoy this show, because just talking to you, there's a lot of knowledge there, mate, and a lot of experience, and it's been brilliant talking to you.
Oh, thanks. Well, if they want to even get in touch with me, the number's 07792 424 073. I can't get used to saying 0. Or jacktheref14@gmail.com.
Okay, that's brilliant. Now,
as long as it's not 2 o'clock in the morning.
I didn't have to get my book out, but that's the final whistle, mate. Thank you very much, Jack.
Cheers, Jace.
So, please subscribe on YouTube, hit the like button, and if you subscribe, it's free, don't forget. I'm sure you'll enjoy this show with Jack. There'll be more to come. We're on Insta, Facebook, okay? And please get in touch. If you know anybody who wants to be a guest, and wants to be on the show, please get in touch. Thanks, see you next time. Thank you very much.